There we go. Ladies, gentlemen, and genetic anomalies, what is happening? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and if not, I hope that today's stream makes your day at least a little bit better. I am your host Nandu, coming to you live from the East Coast of the United States of America, and today we have a lot of things to talk about. First of all, of course, I'll be starting things off by talking about or going over some of your guys' comments. You guys left some comments in my most recent videos. Looks like Asmongold's fans found my video about Asmongold. Hold on, I gotta move this mic out of my face. Get out of my face. It looks like Asmongold's fans found my video about Asmongold, so I'll be reacting to their reactions of that, reacting to some other comments as well that I got over the past few weeks. Let's see, what else? Oh, we'll also be reacting to Kanye West's interview on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Apparently that went off the rails, so I'll be talking about that as well. Also, there's the whole ESPN going a la carte thing, which I think is like really crazy and it's huge news. I'm actually seeing some people talk about it. I feel like there was a time when this would not be talked about as much as it deserved to be, but it's huge, it's massive, and I'll get into why later on in the broadcast. And then as we have time, I have more things queued up, so I'll only of course be able to get to as many things as I have time to talk about. But yeah, we've got massive news about Pepsi. Very sad. We've got Donald Trump doing the small government thing and saying he's going to fix college sports, so that's cool. Yeah, a whole lot of things to get to. Honestly, me yapping before we do the intro is or before we get started is not helping things. Oh man, but I hope you guys are doing well. For those of you tuning in, I do appreciate you guys tuning in each and every single day. Of course, on the screen as well, we have the link to the Discord server where you guys can provide input on things for me to talk about and things that I cover and just generally what goes on in the live streams. Case in point, I just put in this poll earlier today because you guys know that the game that I play when I'm not doing the reaction stuff has been X-Defiant, but that game is shutting down soon. So when it shuts down, I said, hey, what game do you guys want to see me play? There's Siege X, which is basically going to be the successor to X-Defiant. There's Counter-Strike 2, Halo Infinite, Power World, Free Civ, and Chess. I personally voted for Siege X because I think I'm going to enjoy that because it's by the same people who made X-Defiant. Basically, it's the same studio anyways. But somebody here voted Chess. So we'll see what wins, and the one that wins will heavily influence which game I decide to main outside of doing the normal political and contents commentary stuff.
David Studio Animations said in the chat, did you hear that Trump wants to rename the Persian Gulf to something like the Arabian Gulf? Oh,
Donald Trump wants to rename something? Ah, that's such big news. That matters a whole lot. No, bro, I do not care if Donald Trump wants to change the name of the Persian Gulf. That does not matter to me.
Studio Animations.
That doesn't matter to me at all.
Said in the chat, there's also the new Pope that got elected.
Well, I'm a Christian, not Catholic, so my God stayed the same. So I'm cool. It's not big. It's not big news to me. Not big news to me. No, but when it comes to the Persian Gulf, I don't really care. That sort of thing is going to make some people very upset because they like the old name or they feel slighted about their heritage or whatever. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the Gulf is going to still be the Gulf as long as Trump isn't changing how it's ruled and reigned and how people use it. Then, like, bruh, who cares? Honestly, who's like being reasonable? Who's not just like running around with like a chicken with its head cut off, right? Because it's Donald Trump, so everything he does must be bad. Like, in all seriousness, what's the big deal? It's just a name. Let's be honest. Hold on, let me see here. But I'm actually gonna cut the music because we do gotta cover these stories here. Oh, there we go. Okay, we got that all set up. All right. So and by the way here, so just for clarification, I do want to thank everyone who's been leaving comments on my videos. I've been getting a lot of comments on my videos. I will say that this is the last one I'm going to do where when I post it up on non-newbie highlights, it's just going to be not a newbie reacts to comments, because what I'm going to do basically for the most part is I'm going to react to a comment, and if I end up uploading it to non-newbie highlights, it's just, the title is just going to be what the video is about or what I talk about. So if I react to you guys leaving comments about one thing, I'm just gonna make a video about that one thing, and I'll just like chop it up like that. So I do appreciate you guys leaving comments on my videos. I do appreciate you guys have left me comments on my videos to get to this point. But yeah, just figured I would give you guys that head up on how I'm gonna be changing the streams, or at least the non-newbie highlights content moving forward. But here we are. I noticed that you guys were leaving some comments, so I'm gonna go through them. There's this comment here on my video entitled "Jordan is my lawyer," asked Carolyn Levitt challenging questions at the White House press briefing. So there's this comment here which says, "Bro, add tags in the description. You've been recommended to me multiple times. You make good content. You could explode with proper optimization." Now, I can't believe I haven't done this. I think for some reason, like there was like some story or drama on YouTube or something about you know, people doing too many hashtags or whatever, and that was going against YouTube's rules or whatever, which is why I stopped doing this. But you know what? I'm gonna start doing this. So I started doing this. I added proper descriptions, so I think the most my two most recent videos. So we'll see what happens. I actually appreciate this, Forco. I do appreciate this. This comment is from Richard Cullen 7007. It says, how are these challenging questions literally talking points that have been said 1,000 times before just awful? A good question has a follow-up that pokes through the BS answer. Now, first of all, I'm gonna go through here. I'll play this so you guys can actually see the questions that Caroline,
the Jordan is my lawyer
that Jordan is my lawyer asked.
She was able to ask a question.
Let me skip through this. Okay.
Of the press secretary.
Here are the questions.
The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. I believe I'm getting that correct. And this act is a common sense measure. It would require proof of citizenship for inhibit their ads.
Oh wait, hold on. Sorry,
and Instagram, where she has roughly 500,000 followers. Off Jordan.
Okay, here we go. Here's the question.
Thank you. As you know, yesterday the House passed the SAFE Act, and many married women, soon to be married women, are concerned that the new voter ID requirements may inhibit their access to the polls. What assurances can you give women voters in America to ease their concerns?
Sure. Okay, I guess that's not the most challenging question in the world, right? That's fair. But that's not the only question that that Jordan, my lawyer, asked.
I did not support such a common sense measure.
Thank you. For my next question, I actually want to give a voice to the American people. I sourced the question from one of my listeners. Her name is Bryn. She is from Oregon. And she asked, what, if any, plans do you have, the administration, for the money that will be generated by tariffs imposed on foreign goods? How will the administration facilitate the development of American aids imposed on foreign goods? Administration for the money that will be generated by tariffs imposed on foreign goods. How will the
I thought that the White House was pretty clear, or members of the White House are pretty clear. Okay, I interjected here. Hold on, let me fast forward. House will be, that I've heard, put forth by, okay, hold on, it starts again.
Industries, when many critical components, labor, parts, etc., are much cheaper and more feasible from foreign entities.
It's a great question from your listener, and I want to thank her.
Okay, so basically she's like, you're saying you're going to use the revenue from this to tackle the national debt, or well, she's basically saying you're going to use the revenue for this. How's this revenue going to be used? She sort of like answers the question, but it's not a very direct answer. So Jordan ends up coming back around and asking the question again.
By shoring up these jobs here at home.
Hold on, I forget where it is. As dramatic though, and I feel like
as to what that ideas that the administration.
What would be done with the tariff revenue? Okay, yes. Okay, actually, hold on. There we go. So I say here my problem there is that, like, Jordan basically asks, well, what is the White House going to do with this tariff revenue? She sort of gives a general answer about why these tariffs are put in place, and then she says, no, what are you actually going to do with the money, though? And then that forces Caroline Levitt to respond. That's what was challenging. It's like, you're doing this thing, well, what's the point, and what's the benefit to the American people going to be? And when she refused to answer, she asked again. So that's kind of why I titled this video and said that these are challenging questions is because she did challenge her there in the press briefing. Now, is it the most challenging question you could have asked? No. But Carolyn Leavitt did get challenged, so I think it was worth mentioning that it was a challenging question. Here we've got this right here. Okay, somebody left a comment here on my video called "Why Political Success is Harder for the GOP." Well, Sid Guitar 99 left a comment here saying, considering the president said Haitians are eating cats and dogs and still won, I'd say they have it easier. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You know, saying that there are Haitians eating cats and dogs is not the type of thing that you would imagine would sink a campaign, especially because it's not like Donald Trump made it up. He didn't make it up. He was going off of viral stories and reports that were being spread like wildfire on the internet. Now, if Donald Trump had made it up, like if he had like planted some sort of story saying, oh, Haitians are eating the cats and dogs, and then said on the debate stage or whatever, oh, Haitians are eating cats and dogs, that would be completely different. But that's not what Donald Trump did. He reported, or he cited stories that were very, very popular on the internet that many, many people already believed. And so for him to recite that, how would that have taken this campaign? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, you know, that's not the greatest example of how Democrats, or that's not a good example if you want to say that Republicans have it easier. Also, Donald Trump is a complete wild card. Donald Trump can pull success from scenarios that the vast majority of politicians cannot, largely because of the cult following of MAGA that he has riding behind him. So Donald Trump can say that Haitians are eating cats and dogs. Can Ron DeSantis? I don't think so. Can Vivek Ramaswamy? I don't think so. So it's important if you're going to evaluate stuff like this. Don't go back and look at Donald Trump to see, oh, what can a Republican do in order to be successful? Look at someone maybe like Ron DeSantis. He's had a lot of political success. Look at maybe someone like Vivek Ramaswamy. Looks like he might have some political success in Ohio as well. Look to other Republican leaders other than Donald Trump to see how things might go, because I think they would be a better barometer than Donald Trump, because a Donald Trump-less GOP is going to transform overnight, and I think it's not going to look pretty for the Republicans, but it is what it is. That's just the case, because the Republicans are so joined to the hip to Donald Trump and not any particular ideology, because Donald Trump has changed his mind on so many things over time that once he's gone, there's not going to be any guiding force. There's no ideological there's no massive ideological center beyond things that Donald Trump is already doing. So when Trump is gone, right, he's already going to have done all of the things that the Republican Party was united on. So what left is there going to be to do? And then you've kind of got the same incumbency problem that a lot of people who are running for president a second time have, where they often will win by fewer votes than they won the first time, is because it's like, well, what else am I supposed to do? Or because the voters ask themselves, well, what else are you supposed to do for me? So, you know, don't be fooled. Donald Trump saying whatever he wants is not going to reflect to other Republicans. They're going to be Republicans saying less, I guess, off the wall things than what Donald Trump has said, and they're going to do worse than him in the future. And I can't guarantee that, but that's my prediction. Oh yeah, if you've already gone over this, I'll save this for last. Okay. I do have a comment here, or at least a couple of comments on this video. This video was Judge knocks down Trump effort to defund sanctuary states for now, which was a crazy, crazy decision, in my opinion. One comment here says, that $1 should go to the Marxists. I don't know what... the sanctuary states. No, I disagree. I think that if you're following the law, the states should get the funding that is required. But if states are going to go against federal law, like going against federal immigration law, going against the federal regulations when it comes to putting gender ideology inside of schools and inappropriate books in children's classrooms inside of school curriculums, then, you know, sure, that money should be stripped. saying that aid should be conditional is not the same as saying that you disagree with aid at all. In principle, I completely disagree with that when it comes to the federal government giving aid to the states. You can't just be like, oh, they're Marxist states, so we can't give them money. No. These are states, and so they should be getting money from federal sources. But, of course, if they stop obeying federal laws, then they lose the right to federal money. At least that's how things should be, in my opinion. Also, that was left by someone whose name is too long for me to read. That was no story stagnates Ernie box 5312, which, I mean, points for creativity, I suppose. This comment here is from Valerie E9I. It says, most forget the Constitution was written for the USA and its citizens, not others. Very true, but to be fair, there are protections afforded to citizens. Like, for example, I don't think you can do cruel and unusual punishment for non-citizens in the United States just because they're not citizens of America. So, I mean, there are still some things and rules and regulations that you have to follow. But yes, citizens do have far more rights. So, for example, citizens have the right to vote legally, while non-citizens do not. So, yeah, kind of a good point. I'm 99% with you on that one. Alrighty. Now I got a whole lot of comments from Asmongold fans. Apparently the Asmongold fans, they found my video and apparently they liked it. 71 likes and one dislike. And I just decided that I would just dedicate one whole video to reacting to their feedback. It was really interesting hearing some of the things that they had to say. This is from Eric Alexander 5850. Says, yeah, DEIBS is over. No one wants it. LOL. Very true. Very true. So big reason why Donald Trump won the election. Says it's truly Jover. Last word sword said, I was skeptical of a meta reaction video, but lots of value added. The D, interesting phrasing, are so focused on their money game, they've lost the plot. Narrative control, media control, censoring X-phobic hate speech, preserving their corporate advertiser and media corp money, lobby money is all they can seem to care about now, and screw appealing to voters. They'll get cooked on both sides anyway. They're totally screwed. Well, I appreciate this last word sword. I do appreciate this. It's a big thing of mine, especially hearing all the debate about React YouTubers stealing content. It's important to me that when I react to something on stream, that it at least adds some sort of commentary. At least I come to things from a different angle than the person who's in the video, or I provide additional points that aren't in the video or additional context or things. If I don't do that, then typically I won't include that on the Non-Newbie Highlights channel unless I'm very, very dry for content, which generally is not the case. This comment here is from Phil Cauldron 2441. It says, basement dweller still living in his mom's house. Rip, does political commentary and people eat it up. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. Well, I mean, did you eat it up? I don't know. Did you eat this? Like, I'll do a separate video about this talking point, so I'm not going to address it here. But my general point on that is, where you live or your living situation doesn't validate or invalidate your opinions on politics. So, if that person's vote isn't invalidated, then their opinions are not invalidated either. This is a comment from Swickens930. It says, I know bro is trying to be the YouTuber. Yes, the YouTuber, the only one. But you can't watch someone who's watching someone. Oh, bro, for real? Oh, well, I guess I'll give up then. I'm done. Okay, bye. I can't do this anymore. It's Jover. Oh, no. No. I can't react to someone who's reacting to something because Swickens930 told me that I can't. Oh, man. Like, hold on, wait. When he leaves a comment, does he expect me to just, like, read this and be like, oh, I guess I won't react to anybody else's content where they're reacting to somebody else's content anymore? Like, maybe it's just him trying to express his opinion, which is totally valid. But I just think it's a silly take, in my opinion. Because look, if you're being transformative, it's fine. It's completely fine to be transformative. And honestly, in that Asmongold video that he reacted to, which was from CNN, I guess he had it pulled up on X because that's what he does. But I was planning on reacting to that video anyways. But I was like, hey, if I react to Asmongold's video, I could provide commentary on Asmongold's take because, you know, Asmongold, I think, represents, I guess, the average Gen Z male in America. And I also can react to the things that they said in the CNN videos. Two birds with one stone. Also, it's going to be shorter than if I react to the CNN video, because the CNN video is going to be longer than what's included in the Asmongold video, probably. So that was my thought process in even picking this video to react to. Let's continue and see what else Swickens 930 has to say. It says, at this point, I'm a dude who's watching a dude who's watching another dude, and that dude is analyzing something he sees on CNN, which is a dude, and the CNN actor is probably talking about another dude, Donald Trump. So literally, okay, you know what? This is not a bad comment. This is, at least this guy has a sense of humor. I like this. But you know what? This is similar. This reminds me of the capitalism in pencil story. Do you guys remember that? Capitalism pencil. I think it's a short video. Yeah, Milton Friedman. It reminds me of this story here. Like, yeah, maybe you could tell that I'm a capitalist because this is what I'm doing, but this is what it reminds me of.
The basic principles underlying the free market, as Adam Smith taught them to his students in this university, are really very simple. Look at this lead pencil. There's not a single person in the world who could make this pencil. Remarkable statement? Not at all. The wood from which it's made, for all I know, comes from a tree that was cut down in the state of Washington. To cut down that tree, it took a saw. To make the saw, it took steel. To make the steel, it took iron ore. This black center, we call...
You guys probably get the idea. Go watch the video on your own. It's a good video. But this is, I think it feels like this is kind of what I'm doing based on your description, and you're not wrong. There's me, this YouTuber, Asmongold, CNN anchor, Trump. We're like three dudes removed from my opinion on Trump. Well, I would like to hear your opinion on Trump. Maybe join the Discord server. We could debate about it or whatever. The last word sword, jumps in to defend me. Nice, I appreciate that. Says all true, but see my post above? I admit I had doubts coming in, but this got me some extra insights I hadn't had before. And JPLDN 582 said, don't watch this instead of writing it, I say no, it is reading. Hey, I'm reading it. It was funny. Give him points for the comedy. Logan ZF2WR says, I don't think it's a waste at all. I have no idea who this person is, but I watch Asmongold sometimes, so this ended up on my recommended. It was a good, level-headed reaction, and I enjoyed it. I also might click more videos of his in the future because of this one, so it's not useless. I do understand your frustration with the reaction meta, though. Sometimes it is a bit silly, but Asmon has been memed as the aids of YouTube's algorithm for a long time, but now that everyone knows they can ride that wave, suddenly no one complains about him being all over the timeline. LOL. True. Swickers 30 says, actually about 4 sentences was cool, man. Some people are illiterate. It's chill, bro. Parents didn't expose you to reading much. That was mean and unnecessary. You didn't have to say that. Dreadboy 5314 says, vapid brainless dribble from both of you. Oh no. Dreadboy 5314 thought that it was vapid brainless dribble. That's terrible. That's awful. I mean, no, it's fine. If you don't like the content, that's fine. I'm not, I guess, the most. If you want like more politically dense commentary, if you want more astute commentary, more informed commentary, there are more people that you could watch videos of. You know, content creators like me, and I guess probably to a more proper. To be more properly referential, XQC, Asmongold, Destiny, Hassan Piker, they all inhabit a certain space for a particular reason. They are not like your, I don't know, would be the right good example of this. They're not like your Sean Hannity's. They're not like your Rush Limbaugh's. They're not like your Mark Levin's, right? These people have media training, you know, these folks are just casual people on the internet, supposed to be giving you like the take of the average man on things that are going on in politics, which is not going to be as informed as someone who was an anchor on cable news or runs an established podcast. Even someone like Tucker Carlson, for example, going to be a lot more informed than someone like Hassan Piker. So, you know, when it's not bad to consume such media or such content, but just be aware of where it's coming from, and don't take things too seriously. The people that you're watching are not particularly serious. Oh, I did want to react to this. I don't know. Let me see if I can find the exact moment that this is said. Because I was watching this guy's video and I was interacting. I mean, I was here live and I was interacting in chat. But I was like, you know what? Let me talk about this live, because this is something that I hear a lot of people say online very, very often. So I think it's this video here. Probably this is from the chat, right?
There's a fucking cockroach climbing on his fucking shirt. What do you want? Hold
on, let me see. There's got to be a transcript. Serious. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm gonna play this here. This is Sleepy reacting to some of the nastiest self-owns that the nastiest self-owns that Asmongold has done over the years. Which, by the way, I don't know why Asmongold is self-owning. But look, here's what Sleepy said that I wanted to react to.
That's nasty, bro. Like, just soak in, like smell the screen. Nasty.
Like,
smell the screen. What does it smell like to you? Oh, you like that aroma? Do you like the smell of that?
By the way, for context, these are like old bottles and cups that are filled with either like juice or piss. I'm not sure which. Maybe a mixture of both. But like soda and piss just like sitting here on his desk. This is where he streams from. This is where like he lives for like 8 hours of the day. It's gross and disgusting. But here's what he says because of the state of here's what Sleepy says because of the state of Asmongold's room.
Jesus Christ, man. What do you think this smells like? You don't think he's pissing in these cups? You think he's dignified enough to go to the washroom? Come on. This motherfucker's got urine cups all over the fucking table. You know he does. I know he does. Let's not bullshit each other, okay? Very real and true. Finally, we're taking accountability, chat. And listen, chat, just because some of us in chat liked Asmongold, okay? And even if you still like him, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be like, you know what? He is a disgusting freak. I will take his opinions a little less seriously. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so his point here in this video, and I wish that I could get to the actual part where he says this. Okay, here we go. Here's the point, the part that I was really looking forward to. Let me see here. Oh yeah, okay. Here's the point that I really want to react to.
Oh my god, man.
This is from him literally drinking water and then using Dr. Pepper as a chaser because he found the water so disgusting. I did hear that he later said that he played this up a little bit for the audience, but still, you know, some sentiment of this had to ring true for him.
What do you want me to say about this? This is your guy? This is the guy that you go to for political? Come on, chat. Listen to me. All I'm saying is this can't be your guy. You can pick anybody else. Can't be your guy, all right?
It's impossible.
When I see comments on my videos, by the way, I don't want to say they're bots, okay? Although Twitter has a significant botting issue, I don't want to say that YouTube has those botting issues, okay? But like, it can be our guy. Stop. It cannot be your guy, Jack Bridges. It cannot be your guy. You got to take responsibility for your space. XQC and Hassan hire cleaners. Exactly.
That's me.
Whatever, which is how a real man takes care of business. 100%. Like, if you don't want to spend the time, Ew, who doesn't like water?
Okay, so I'm not gonna waste your guys' time reacting to more of Sleepy stuff. I would recommend Sleepy. He's a good content creator, but I do want to say that the messiness of Asmongold's room does not invalidate the things that he has to say about politics. Because if what he's saying about politics is true or accurate, then why does it matter whether or not his room is messy or not? Now, I will say this. You shouldn't take Asmongold's stuff super seriously. Like, especially even in my comments, right? XQC is a lot better at handling his responsibilities. If he notices that he has a shortcoming, then he will do something to try to compensate for that. So, for example, he has noticed over the years that he's extremely late to events. He's extremely late to things. And so what did he do? He said, I'm not going to say yes to as many events. And he did go to some events, and he did end up being late to some other events. But in general, he's like, I'm not doing as many events because I don't want to bring down the experience for everyone else. If I can't fix the problem, I'm just going to remove myself and not be the problem. That, I think, is an example of him taking responsibility. He also, I think, did everything that he could to fight off all the legal stuff when it comes to Adept. He could have just I don't know, laid down and just gave up, surrendered, and gave Adept everything. But no, he decided to claw and fight back for his own dignity. So XQC has some level of self-respect for himself, and he also does have some level of responsibility. So, I would take XQC's opinions more seriously than Asmongold's if XQC's opinions were a lot more informed, but they're not. And Asmongold is actually a lot more politically informed than XQC is. Now, what I use Asmongold's content for is to kind of put my finger on the pulse of what the average Gen Z male thinks about American politics, because Asmongold up until recently hasn't been like the most obsessed about politics. The only reason he went into politics is because left-wingers tried to cancel him, but he mostly just cares about gaming. Like, he doesn't like wokeness, right? And that's kind of what turned him against the Democratic Party. But in general, like, he's chill. Like, I guess maybe he leans right-wing, but he's not like a he's not an ideologue. He's not an ideologue. He's not like a diehard Republican. He's not going to shill for Donald Trump. He's going to be biased towards him, but that's not the exact same thing. You couldn't call Asmongold MAGA. I don't think that Asmongold is the same as MAGA. Like, he would not endorse all the stuff that the January 6ers did, for example. That's not Asmongold. So he's just the average, just like semi-political person who's like getting more into politics because people keep on injecting politics into non-political spaces. I think if you're watching Asmongold for that purpose, that's completely fine. It is, of course, worth understanding, and being aware of, oh, well, this content is coming from someone who is not the most responsible person in the world, who his house has been in various states of disarray over the years. I think a dead animal fell through the roof most recently. But in general, I just don't really like saying, oh, you can't watch it because his room is messy. Like, bro, that does not have any bearing as to whether or not what Asmongold is saying is accurate. And for me, his room being messy actually probably makes it make more sense I watch him for the average Gen Z male's opinion of American politics, because the average Gen Z male's room is probably messy. So I'm going to keep watching Asmongold. I'm not going to say he's my guy. I kind of like him, but, it is what it is. If his room is messy, his room is messy. And at the end of the day, I just don't care that much. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to react to this video here. This was some pretty big drama that happened kind of recently. Let me see. Okay, now I started watching Streamers Reloaded when Streamer TV, they went to some of their older videos and like trimmed the majority of it except for like the first 43 seconds down to like the down out of the video, because like they wanted to like boost their stuff in the algorithm. It's actually a cheat that somebody else found and made a whole video about like 2 years later. I thought that was kind of funny. But anyways, this is Streamers Reloaded's video about the drama that's been going on between Tectone and Hasanabi. And by the way, before we start off, I am going to say that Tectone has some allegations against him, right? of himself doing some sort of wrongdoing, treating an ex poorly. I don't know if those allegations are true. I haven't dug into them, but I will say Tectone reacted to them pretty badly, which makes me a little bit biased against him. There's no proof against him, but the way that he reacted sort of made me think that he might be guilty. So, you know, I may agree with some of the things that Tectone has to say, but I do not endorse him as a person. So I just wouldn't put that clarification here before we start this video. And I'm also not going to talk about it because I'm not super informed about the situation. But yeah, just figured I would mention that here. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this video. This is by Streamers Unloaded. It's called Tectone Threatens to Leave Twitch Over Hasanabi Politics Drama.
Welcome back, Streamers Reloaded. My name is Tom, and let's get right into the news. And today we got a statement from that of Tectone regarding all of the political streamers and their views being shared on the platform recently. Where Tectone shared on Twitter, "I'm genuinely considering full swapping to YouTube if this T propaganda isn't punished harshly and immediately on Twitch. My father, my brothers, and our soldiers did not bleed, sacrifice, and die for this bullshit to be allowed and promoted on Twitch. This needs to change immediately."
Now, I will say that I sort of disagree with this sentiment a bit. I will say that Twitch has a rule against supporting terrorists, and so of course they should ban Hasanabi because he has supported terrorists and supported terrorism time and time again. The only thing I would say is that I generally am a free speech absolutist or fan. Now, I do understand if you're trying to make a public square type platform, people are going to want to go to a platform that's filled with pro-terrorist propaganda. So I understand why Twitch and even YouTube banned terrorist propaganda. Actually, I had a video taken down, not because I was supporting terrorism at all, but because I was literally reacting to a video that was uploaded by a terrorist organization. It was newsworthy. It was actually from a PBS news clip that video ended up getting taken down too. But if you're doing making a public square platform, I completely understand. Like, Twitch ain't out here trying to be Kick, right? They're not trying to be Rumble. They're just a platform for normies, and the platform for normies has no place for pro-terrorist propaganda. Like, Hassan Piker is such an extreme content creator. He really should be relegated to the types of platform like Kick or like Rumble, right? Under ordinary circumstances, Hassan would be banned from Twitch, but I think maybe it's because there are like maybe Twitch employees who have a crush on him or something. Maybe they view him the same way they view Pokimane, where they're very forgiving of her as well when she breaks the rules. That, you know, there's just a level of favoritism towards Hasanabi that just gives him the leeway to support terrorism and promote terrorist organizations on the platform.
In the response to this tweet, he also added a video that is directed at Hassan Abi, so it's fair to assume that this tweet is regarding Hassan. So of course Hassan was sent this tweet while he was on stream, and so we have a clip of him reacting to it, where he essentially says that it would be a plus for Tectone to leave the platform. Here's the clip.
"I am genuinely considering full swapping to YouTube if this propaganda isn't punished harshly." Wait, did Tectone unironically think him posting this is not going to be a call for celebration? Wait, what?
Celebration of
what? Oh
what?
my God. Now people are going to advocate. Now people that wanted me to get banned yesterday are going to turn around and be like, actually, never mind, we should keep him.
Hassan also tweeted out around the same time.
What does that even mean? Tectone saying that is going to change people's minds and saying that they should keep Hassan Piker? Maybe he's saying that Tectone is a bunch of anti-fans, but I thought the anti-fans stopped caring about him long ago. Not that he was like, well, I mean, he's relatively big. You know, he used to be an OTK, but I don't understand what Hassan is saying and why Tectone saying that Hassan should be banned would make more people think that Hassan shouldn't be banned.
Oh no, what will anyone do if the bold pervert leaves the Twitch platform?
So he clearly understood that he was being talked about, because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's like the whole Ethan Klein versus Hassan Piker drama that's going on, where Ethan Klein kind of pinned Hassan Piker to the wall about supporting terrorist organizations, and Hassan Piker did not apologize for that. He did that, and that was on Twitch. So even in that interview / debate, Hassan Piker was supporting and endorsing and excusing terrorism.
for good, which Tectone responded, "Why did you assume this was about you, buddy? Is this because you knowingly push T propaganda which is against TOS? Kinda weird, big guy."
Now, this is the type of thing that'll win you a lot of X points, but considering that people were talking about Hassan Piker pushing terrorist propaganda, then, you know, it's probably more, this is him reacting to this is probably more about the rhetoric surrounding Hassan's problematic language and opinions, rather than him thinking, oh, the terrorist supporter must be me, because there are other people in Hassan's orbit who support terrorism too. So
Hassan also saw this tweet and responded to that one on stream as well.
here's the drama gets juicy.
Why did you assume this was about you, buddy? Is this because you know you're pushing propaganda which is against TOS? Where did I say this was about me? Where does it say that? No, I'm just saying it'd be awesome if you left Twitch. Does he not understand words? Like what? I didn't say this is about me. I'm just saying it'd be awesome if you left Twitch. I was like, oh no, what will anyone do if the bald leaves the Twitch platform for good?
Yeah, and I will say that Tectone I don't think is a great fit for Twitch. Generally speaking, if there's someone who's got assault allegations against them, you know, generally, like, sometimes those people get banned. If you're like problematic enough to have been kicked from an org, then, you know, feels like you're sort of outside of the cultural realm that popular people on Twitch inhabit. So it's like you're on Twitch, but you're not really like with the Twitch streamers, if that makes sense. Also, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Also, some people accuse Tectone of being alt-right. Now, I don't agree with this classification, but for people who are deemed alt-right by certain circles of the internet, they also tend to get banned from Twitch and get relegated to Kick. That's why Kick has a reputation for being an alt-right platform, is because a lot of alt-right people get kicked from Twitch and then end up going over there or to a platform like Rumble. So I actually think that culturally, Tectone would be a better fit on pretty much any streaming platform other than Twitch. I think he ended up switching to YouTube after this, because I think he did end up getting banned or something, or being told that he was going to get banned. But I actually sort of agree to an extent. Like, Hassan shouldn't get banned from, Tectone shouldn't have been banned from Twitch necessarily, but he certainly is a better fit on other platforms than he is on Twitch, just culturally speaking.
If anything, I'm not even directly saying it's Tectone. I said bald. Maybe it's someone else. Okay. You tagged him though? No, I didn't.
But that's true. Well, he screenshotted the Zeet. So, like, you know, of course he's talking to Tectone here.
Obviously, I'm mentioning him, and obviously he's mentioning me. I'm just fucking memeing.
Yeah, okay.
Free speech warriors, when they see something, yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that I'm sorry that I think gross. I know. I know that hurts your feelings.
What does that have to do with anything?
Didn't Tectone do some sexual assault or something? I think so, yeah. I haven't really kept up.
He was accused of
However,
stuff.
that didn't end here. We now come on today, and some of Hassan's viewers, or at least dislikers of Tectone, did some background research into Tectone and his family. So important to note, Tectone is a big advocate of veterans and those who went to war, which was mentioned in his original Move to YouTube tweet. So some people did some background research into Tectone and his family, and found out that someone who conveniently has the same name as Tectone's dad also has several convictions while in the US Army. Tectone hasn't responded, claiming that this is not his dad, so it does all appear to be legitimate here, and that is backed up by a tweet he makes later.
And also that was backed up by a segment they did on stream. I think it's this one. He confirms that it was his dad.
A thread was created and Hassan did a sort of review on stream about it. So this one's a bit of a longer clip. Here it is.
The biggest photo you see is of Colonel Michael Robertson. He was convicted of 14 accounts of assault. He only served 90 days in jail and paid a $30,000 fine.
Bro, that is the craziest. I mean, it's not even a milkshake duck style situation, because it's like for a milkshake duck to occur, like, this needs to be a beloved figure and not a bald himself, right? But what was hilarious about this situation is, like, I didn't know anything about his dad. You know? Literally, where is this reference? You posted, come in with receipts posted, bro. So where did this reference happen? Do you think this person will change their perspective about this guy? Hokai Impact third, gotta be the best game. Australia, motherfucker. Yeah, like what? Why would you invite people looking for this information? It's so crazy.
That, well, yeah, okay, I don't know. I mean, I think it's explained later in this video that Tectone literally had his father on previous streams. Not many streams, but previous streams. So when you literally put family members on your streaming platform, you got to be like, okay, this person might get looked up at some point in their life. Especially if you say what that person's name is. It's like, oh, that person might be, looked up. That person might, anything that happens to this person might negatively come back to attack me. Because, like, if someone that I am a close relative of does something bad and then I have them on the stream, then I have to be at peace with, okay, people might find out that this person did this thing, right? It's a risk that you take. So the fact that this news came out, to a certain extent, is Tectone's fault. Now, to be fair, if you're clear about what your name is, some super sleuths can dig up all your relatives and find out all your information. There are crazy psychos on the internet who can do all that, right? But at the very least, Tectone shouldn't have made it this easy to identify who his father was. That part, I think, at the very least, is on him. It's like, if you are out in a dangerous place, right? And let's say you thought about bringing your pepper spray, but you left it at home. Then some dude comes up to you and you get mugged, end up in the hospital with a black eye and a concussion. It's like, well, it's not your fault that you got mugged, but at the same time, like, bro, why didn't you bring your pepper spray? You could have brought your pepper spray. You could have just brought your pepper spray. It's not that hard. Just pick it up and bring it, slap it on your keychain and go, And same with Tectone. Tectone could have just not talked about his dad at all. Tectone could have just not had his dad in any of his streams. Could have just not published any pictures with him publicly. But he chose to include him in the content. And, when your personal life starts becoming internet drama, your dad's gonna be, I don't know about fair game, but he's gonna be put out there and included. Especially when people hate you, they don't care what's fair game or not. They're just gonna go after you.
And there's a person with the same name, rank, and similar age than Tectone's dad, and he was indeed found guilty of 14 counts of sexual harassment. It definitely wasn't his dad. His dad served in the late 80s, the early 90s. Anything after that, he probably wasn't active and was a reserve. Plus, I know people like Casey, blah, blah, blah. He literally references his dad as Iron Mike, which was also the nickname explicitly referenced in the trial of Michael Robertson. It's pretty obviously his father-in-law. It's not a surprise considering the history of abuse that runs in the family. Like, this man has
history of abuse in the family is, I think, a little bit of a stretch if we don't know for sure that Tectone did what he's accused of doing. Again, I lean towards thinking that he's guilty of what they say he's doing, which is why generally I don't like him. A big reason why generally I don't like him. I think he's also unstable, but that opinion was formed years ago. But, I don't like saying, oh, this person is an assaulter if we don't know that for sure.
I guess epigenetic memories of he had to do it, He just couldn't. He couldn't stop himself because it's just like, it's a familial obligation over here. He literally says, should we call you Colonel in the podcast? Colonel Michael Robertson, Lamau. In the video, he literally said he served in Vietnam. The same Colonel Michael Robertson in the assault trial who served, guess where? Vietnam. Lemafayao.
His dad? Yo! That podcast is so cursed. I keep on joking that podcast is cursed. You know why I joke that I don't know what it was called before. Now I think it's called Steak and Eggs or whatever. You know why I joke that podcast is cursed? It's because when that podcast started, it was like, what? Who was it? Like Asmongold? I think, what was it? Was it Tectone? No, Emerald? I think. But like one of the main people in the podcast was Rich Campbell. Rich Campbell gets accused of assault. I think there's enough circumstantial evidence that's been released to the internet, we can say Rich Campbell is guilty. He did it. Also, of course, the fact that he hasn't said anything in 2 years online generally is the case that you're in active litigation. I think if he was innocent, he would have been cleared of the charges by now. That's just me, my personal opinion. But we've got that whole situation there as well. Please close the door. Please close the door. Please close the door. Austin, please close the door. There's that whole situation as well, but that's not even all of it, because after Rich Campbell is gone, there's another co-host on the podcast who gets hit with assault allegations. Tectone! And so then he is kicked from the podcast and is forced to leave OTK. And now Asmongold, I think is holding on to his podcast, if I remember correctly. Steak and Eggs. Is he still on that show? Is he still on that show? Oh wait, 2025? Interesting. Steak and Eggs. No, not the food. Wait, he's gone from Steak and Eggs. wait, he's gone. He's gone from Steak and Eggs. Yo, they did not break the curse. This show did not break the curse. This is hilarious. The show is still cursed. They cannot have another cisgender heterosexual male as their replacement for Asmongold, because he's you know what's gonna happen to him next. You know what's gonna happen to him next. Crazy. And now this show has been off the air for 3 months, and literally footage from it is still coming back to haunt one of the cursed co-hosts of the podcast. Crazy. This show is like the most cursed podcast in the entire streamer space. It's wild.
I think it's Tectone. Your father was a literal terrorist. Asmongold was a Vietnam invader. Both of you don't have the.
He literally was in the military as part of a war. If they didn't target civilians, I don't know if they targeted civilians in the Vietnam War. I don't know. I hear that's generally considered America's worst war ever. But if America didn't target civilians during the Vietnam War, then it's not terrorism. Actually, hold on. Ziggy, did the United States military target civilians during the course of the Vietnam War?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with.
Oh, goodness. The Amazon Echo is useless. Here. Hey, Google. Did the United States military target civilians during the course of the Vietnam War?
The official policy of the U.S. military is to avoid targeting civilians. There is evidence indicating that civilians were harmed and killed during the course of the Vietnam War. Here's a breakdown of complexity. Official policy versus reality. U.S. military's official doctrine aimed at military targets. However, the nature of the conflict, particularly the difficulty in distinguishing between combatants and civilians in guerrilla warfare, led to civilian casualties, unintentional casualties. Many civilian deaths and injuries resulted from operations aimed at military targets.
Collateral damage.
Bombing campaigns, artillery fire, and ground engagements in populated areas. Deliberate acts. There were instances where U.S. military personnel deliberately killed civilians.
Oh!
The most infamous example is the My Lai massacre in March 1968, where unarmed civilians, including women, children, and the elderly, were killed by U.S. soldiers.
Oh, that's awful.
Scale of civilian casualties. Estimates of Vietnamese civilian deaths vary significantly. A 1975 U.S. Senate subcommittee estimated around 1 million civilian casualties in South Vietnam. The Vietnamese government in 1995 estimated 2 million civilian deaths on both sides. It's important to distinguish between official policy and the reality of warfare. While the U.S. military did not have a stated policy of targeting civilians, the conflict resulted in a large number of civilian casualties through various means, including unintended harm and deliberate acts. Therefore, while it wasn't the stated objective, the U.S. military's actions during the Vietnam War did lead to the targeting and deaths of civilians in many instances.
Okay, then I would say that it's fair to consider, consider, I don't know if he's a terrorist, but it's fair to say that, you know, some acts of terror did occur from the military, from the United States military during the Vietnam War.
The right to call anyone terrorist? Okay, listen, Asmund Dad is good in my book, okay? He is a liberal.
This led into a response from Tectone where he said, "Bro's going after my 75-year-old cancer-ridden dad because of an allegation SH claimed from 17 years ago when I was 15 years old to try paint me as a R. This guy is effing psychotic. He must be upset because his friend's on trial right now."
I don't know what that last sentence is about his best friend being on trial, but maybe this is before he went and Googled and found out that they were not just allegations but convictions. But they weren't just allegations. It's not just one allegation, by the way. This is multiple allegations. Streamers Reloaded gets to this later on.
Hassan then quote retweeted that post saying, "They get your dad's crimes in congressional record, man. Why are you still chirping?" Now, I'm not going to play this clip, but as previously mentioned, Colonel Michael Robertson is mentioned along with his 14 convicted charges.
Let me see if I can find this. What's his name? Colonel Michael Robinson? Colonel Michael Robertson, C-SPAN. Well, that's not it. Oh, man. Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise again today to draw attention to the epidemic in our military of rape and assault. 19,000 women and men each year are raped or sexually assaulted in the military. Shockingly, almost 1/3 of female veterans of all generations say they have been sexually assaulted or raped while in the military. And more than 70% say they experience sexual harassment while serving. In 2008, the Department of Veterans Affairs reported a total of 48,106 female veterans and 43,693 male veterans screened positively for military sexual trauma. The prosecution rate of sexual assault is alarmingly low. Only 8% of sexual assailants were referred to courts martials or military court, compared with 40% of similar offenders in the civilian system. This travesty is not being addressed, and I will continue to speak out on this floor until it does. Survivors can email me at stopmilitaryrape@mail.house.gov if they would like to speak out. Today, I would like to tell the story of one of the 8% that were prosecuted. The story of Colonel Michael Robertson, who commanded Fort Bliss's 31st Combat Support Hospital at Camp Dwyer, a military base and airfield in the Helmand River Valley in Afghanistan. Last week, Colonel Robertson was convicted by a military judge of 14 charges, including having pornography on his government computer, sexually harassing 3 women, and assaulting 5 women. 8 women that served under his command testified at great cost to their careers and their privacy. Colonel Robertson routinely touched them without permission on their breasts, thighs, and buttocks, and encouraged them to look at pornography computer. Some testified the harassment occurred daily. Sadly, the military careers of these 8 women who bravely did the right thing are almost assuredly destroyed. A major who filed a claim against Robertson said, quote, "I don't know if my career was in jeopardy for doing the right thing. Who in the Corps who supported you is going to trust you in the future," unquote.
Yeah,
Despite repeated warnings, Colonel Robertson also emailed pornography to friends and female subordinates. A lieutenant colonel who was the chief nurse under Robertson's command said his command style split the staff and created a toxic environment. What makes the defense's answer to all these actions?
One thing is encouraging, because I had heard some people talk about this and saying he was basically part of this like gang of federal employees who was assaulting women who are their subordinates. But at the very least, it sounds like if this created some sort of divide amongst the members of the military who were working at that base, at the very least, not everyone was going along with it, which is, it's one thing for there to be bad apples. It's another thing for the whole base to be overrun with men who are just assaulting women. So,
who was the chief nurse under Robertson's command, said his command style split the staff and created a toxic environment. What makes the defense's answer to all these actions? That all of these jokes and the touching were attempts to boost morale. How much more outrageous must the excuse become before we do something about it? So what is the punishment?
Hey, I don't even know if that's a genuine, like a genuine aim. That has to be just, well, maybe not has to be, but I would imagine that there's probably just an excuse to get away with heinous behavior.
For someone in the military convicted of 14 counts of assaulting and harassing his subordinates, who was assigned to protect? Is he sent to prison for being a predator? Is he stripped of his standing in the military? Oh, no. Colonel Robertson was ordered to pay a $30,000 fine over 3 months and spent 3 months in prison. Colonel Robertson will retire from the Army when he finishes his sentence. His conviction won't affect his Army retirement or his federal health insurance. And he will not be required to register as a sex offender.
What? That is outrageous. I will say that the other ones I kind of understand, right? It's like, oh, you've helped defend our country. We're going to go a little bit light on you because of that. Like, I'm not saying it's right, but I do sort of understand it. Especially more on the side of it not affecting his military status, not affecting his healthcare benefits or other benefits post being in the military. Not as much on him being in jail for only 3 months. That's way too light. The other ones I do sort of understand, but for him not to be registered as an offender that's crazy, because I think in almost every single circumstance when civilians are convicted of sexual crimes, they do have to register as an offender. At least that's my understanding of it.
It doesn't take a military expert or a psychologist to figure out that sexual assault and harassment hurts not only the individual victim, but undermines unit cohesion, morale, and overall effectiveness. The absolute failure to address this behavior is hurting our military. Colonel Robertson, the majority of assailants are older and of higher rank than their victims. They abuse not only their authority, but also the trust of those they are responsible for protecting. The current military structure serves as a safe haven for sexual predators. They either are never brought to justice at all, or they receive a sentence like Colonel Robertson that doesn't come close to match their crime. That's why this week I'll be introducing a bill that would fundamentally change.
Okay, yeah, now she's politically grandstanding about something about the 15-year-old political movements. But let's see, oh yeah, of course, all the comments down here from Tectone folks. Of course. But anyways, back to the video.
Once again, as previously mentioned, Tectone has not responded, saying that this is not his dad, so take that information how you will. Which of course Tectone finally responded to this tweet saying, "We're going after dads now. Take time at your next Diddy party and brothel visit. Not gonna lie, man, Ethan has obliterated your mental."
Right, and I will say, Tectone's father, assaulting people doesn't mean that Tectone assaulted people. And if Tectone did assault people, which I believe is likely, that's on Tectone. You can't really blame that on Dad or apples falling from a tree or something.
Get help. Further adding a reference tweet for Hassan, and I swear I've read this 20 times and I still don't understand half the words. So
leftist Hassan Piker is the son of Turkish billionaire Mehmet Beckett Piker, who co-founded the Future Party, right-wing neo-Ottoman, with former PM of Turkey Ahmet Davutoglu, who formerly negotiated the release of Sinwar, leader of Hamas, who orchestrated the October 7th attack. This is like ridiculous. This is a stretch, because we're saying Hassan Piker is the son of someone who did a political movement with someone who helped release someone who helped the October 7th attack happen. None of that has that doesn't mean that Hassan Piker endorsed October 7th. I think it's one of the actual few instances of Palestinian terrorism that he doesn't support is October 7th. And it doesn't mean that he's involved in October 7th. This is a bit of a reach. But the whole Diddy Party brothel thing, those are things that I think that Hassan has either talked about on stream or in podcasts or actually posted about on X.
And I still don't understand half the words, so make sense of what you can hear. So following on, as of just a few hours ago, Tectone went live quite emotional, saying that he didn't know about these convictions, then turning the narrative against Hassan, saying that regardless of everything, he is still a liar, manipulator, and doesn't like how Hassan is implying that he's a monster just by connection to his father, all with the intention of just winning this feud between them. Here is the clips.
I suppose, due to this all being resurfaced by Hassan, I suppose I will no longer be interacting with my father in any way, shape, or form on my stream or my content. I understand. No, I understand now why so many people are afraid of this guy. Because he will dig up decades-old information, twist, and manipulate, and lie about every single narrative to try to get a big W. But
okay. Yes, Hassan Piker is a liar. True. But yeah, there were some things Hassan insinuated about Tectone that I think that there are some logical leaps there. But Hassan Piker did not lie about Tectone's father. What he said about Tectone's father, more or less, was pretty true. More or less. I mean, Hassan went easier on Tectone's father than that lady did on Capitol Hill 13 years ago. And a lot easier than the prosecutors. Well, I don't know, a lot easier. But, I mean, he didn't... At least the prosecutors actually convicted the Michael Robertson person. So, yeah, sure, he's a liar or whatever. You can't deflect from the fact that your father did these things. Now, it's not like Tectone did these things, but you can't. You just gotta own up and say, yeah, he did it. It was wrong. It was bad. I'm not gonna associate with him anymore. He's like 50% there, where you're saying he's not gonna associate with him anymore. But you can't blame Hassan for the things that Tectone's father did.
Hopefully now we can lock the fuck in. And I apologize. You had to see me look like a bitch. I do feel a lot better though. Destiny's such a grumpy shit. Destiny is a very grumpy shit. Man, is this content entertaining. Hassan is backed into a corner. He's going to flail like prey and throw anything he can. You, that guy, you the man, never forget. I greatly appreciate that. I understand that this is the actions of a man who is horrified to lose everything that he built up. These are the actions of someone who just got colossally fucked in his ass by a man he thought was his prey. I'm not worried about it at all. And here's the thing. I'm not like these other streamers who will ever just simply go away. I'm not. I don't do that. I'll just get through it. It is what it is.
And so that's where we're at. This all began.
Now, there's a little bit more to this clip because, let me see. Where's TMZ for streamers? Where is it? TMZ for Streamers had an extra clip that was something else that Tectone had said that I specifically wanted to speak on. I didn't like what he said. Here, I'll just look this up. Awk Tectone. Where's the thread? Where's the thread? It was a literal thread. Tectone cries. Because it was in the thread with the crying clip. Bruh, where's this clip? Where's this clip? Okay, here we go. Here we go. It was in this thread here, I want to say. Okay, here we go. Here we go. There's this clip here that had some context as to why he was crying and was so upset that I wanted to address.
And obviously he took some of the aggression out on me.
No, wait a second.
And obviously he took some of the aggression out on me. About 2 days before he got sent to jail, I got back from soccer practice.
Oh, see? So he knew that they weren't allegations. He knew that they were convictions. That's a bit disingenuous for him to say, "Oh, digging up an allegation from 13 years ago." No. Convictions, plural, multiple. Come on, fam.
Which I joined because I wanted to make my dad proud, and I put an empty orange soda can on top of my trash can, and my father threw me to the ground and put a gun against my head, and he said, "Give me a good reason not to shoot you." And my brother Mike intervened, and he got me out of that situation. And once my father got sent to prison, I was just a little bit uncomfortable with my life. And so my brother encouraged me to get as far away from this family as humanly possible. Now, obviously, this isn't really anything that I just really want to talk about on stream. However, a really great Twitch streamer is just making me relive my childhood trauma because of all this, which is great.
Now, I do want to say, I think if you read his Zeets or whatever, he basically insinuated that Hassan intentionally brought up childhood trauma to get an own or W whatever. I think that based on what I've seen from the Streamers Reloaded video, it's not clear that Hassan knew all the childhood trauma that was involved with Tectone's backstory in life and his situation with his father. So I think it's a little bit unfair to sort of blame him for that. Because I don't know. Hassan Piker isn't a great guy, right? I think he's probably not a great person. He's probably a worse content creator than he is a person. I think he's probably a better person behind the scenes than he is on stream, in my opinion. I would just guess. Because if you're on stream, right, you're probably just doing certain things to play the algorithmic game or whatever and try to be as successful as you can be. But I don't know that he would even cross the line of being like, oh, Tectone has trauma around this situation? Okay, I'm gonna bring it up and see how he feels when he gets pressed. Like I don't think that's how I think that'd be a lot for even Hassan to do. So I wanted to mention that too, that I don't think Hassan did that on purpose. Now, I'm no big Hassan fan, but I try to be fair when I do coverage of various people and topics and things. So I was just going to be honest. I just don't think Hassan did that on purpose. All right. We've got this video here from Piers Morgan. This is called Coward. Kanye West / Ye walks out on Piers Morgan interview. Apparently Piers Morgan tried to interview Ye and it didn't work that well. Sneeko was here in tow over here cosplaying as Andrew Tate, I believe. So let's roll the clip and see how this went, because I haven't seen a Kanye West interview since I reacted to the Alex Jones interview, which was years and years and years ago, back on that was conducted on InfoWars. So let's see what this is like. And I think, guys, this is going to be the last video of the night, the last stream of the night, because I am running short on time here.
2 years ago, I interviewed Kanye West on Uncensored after he'd made global headlines for anti-Semitic outbursts. Most outrageously, he tweeted that he wanted to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. It was a heated interview. It was a long interview. I held him to account. I told him his remarks were offensive. He'd caused many people a lot of pain. And he gave me some back, of course. He called me a Karen. Fair enough, I can take it. At least we had a mostly grown-up conversation. These constant tirades against Jewish...
Oh, I think I reacted to this too on stream, didn't I?
People.
Have you felt my pain yet? You haven't felt my pain. You don't want to feel my pain.
Well, no,
you don't hold la. You don't hold accountability.
You can't tell me nothing. Oh my goodness.
To my pain. You're being a Karen.
Do you believe that you have any form of mental illness?
I believe that I suffered from exhaustion. I suffered from being lied to constantly by the people around me, by my management, by my ex-wife.
Do you still love Kim?
I absolutely I'll love her for life.
That interview lasted 2 hours in the end. We covered a lot of ground. There were moments of tension and moments, I think, of mutual understanding. Yeah, he got up and walked off at one point, but he had to think about what he wanted to say, and then he came back and he said it.
And we'll have the top lawyers like a Johnny Cochran, Robert Kardashian level legal team, looking at all of these contracts together. After that moment happens, then I will say, I'm sorry.
That didn't happen, by the way. That didn't happen.
Okay, if that's your position. That's clear.
Interview adjourned. Love you.
Yeah, thanks for sitting back down. I'll change the subject now. Obviously, I have no idea what's going on in this guy's head, and he's unquestionably...
Yeah, I don't think anyone does. I think the nitrous is the only thing that knows what's going on inside of his head.
Genius artist with a global fan base and massive talent. He's lived most of his life under the microscope of intense fame, and that pressure alone can make people behave very oddly. Back then, I was trying to understand if...
But it's not... The thing is, Kanye West has been famous for a long time. I don't think you can blame this on fame. He wasn't acting like this before. This is all 100%. And I made a video of the 9 Movie Vlog channel a while ago. I have to go back and look for what it's called. But this is all because Kim broke up with him. He thought that if he turned to God, then God would give him Kim back. He did that for a year. That didn't work. So he looked for somebody to blame for Kim leaving him, because clearly because he tried to get Kim back. That didn't work. So he was like, well, I'm not going to get her back. So who do I blame? And he was like, oh, I know who I blame, the Jews. And so that's what he's been doing, blaming the Jews for not just Kim leaving, but for everything else that's wrong with society, how he's been wronged in the past. That's, I think, why Kanye West is where he is now. Of course, I don't know for sure. Again, the nitrous probably has a better idea of what's going on in Kanye West's head than I do, but that's just my opinion.
Ye had any regret or remorse for what could have been a relatively isolated incident or some kind of episode. I wanted to know if he understood there are consequences for his words and whether he was genuinely a racist. What we now know is just the tip of the iceberg. As far as the watching public is concerned, Ye has spiraled in both his personal life and his business life. Most recently, he's taken to posting endless, outrageous anti-Semitic slurs on X. He frequently professes his great love for Adolf Hitler. He poses in swastikas and KKK Ye costumes. He says things like Jews were better as slaves and they should be whipped. We all know this because X has allowed him to carry on doing it to his 33 million followers. I've argued for a long time his account should be shut down. It should be stopped. That's my opinion.
Oh, the great fan of free speech, I see.
I believe passionately in free speech and I detest censorship.
German free speech. Yeah. British free speech. Oh my goodness. No. Don't ask a Brit anything about free speech, man. Like, someone who lives in Britain, who thinks that especially thinks that the laws in Britain are fine when it comes to speech, they're not going to have like a full understanding of the importance of allowing people with all viewpoints to speak freely. I don't like what Kanye West is saying, but I think that he should have the right to say what he wants to say. I think it's good that he can say what he wants on X, especially considering that his profile is sort of limited to as being sensitive, right? Because then, I think it limits the spread of his content, right? If it's set as sensitive. So if you want to know what Kanye West has to say, you go there, you click a button, and you see it. But it shouldn't be infecting your X feed, if that makes sense. Also, it's strange, though, because I think there are worse raging anti-Semites on X that are not limited at all. But anyways.
Because I believe in the importance of sharing honestly held opinions in a democracy. But posting endless, vile, anti-Semitic insults, encouraging violence against Jewish people in these unhinged tirades on a privately owned platform has got nothing to do with free speech. I invited him back onto Uncensored.
Hold on. If he's actively encouraging violence, that's different than free speech. Like saying go beat your clothes. Go do it. Saying something so ridiculous as, I don't know, hey guys, go beat the nearest Jew is a little bit different than saying like I love such and such leader from the 1920s in Germany. That's a little bit different. You know what I mean? So if he's spewing hateful rhetoric, I would say that it might be included in free speech as long as he's not telling people to actually go be violent.
Because at least on my show, I can call him out for what he's been doing and put myself in between the 33 million followers who see his posts without any challenge whatsoever. Our producer spotted that he was in Spain with his friend Sneeko, and we invited both of them on for an interview. They very quickly agreed, and Sneeko spent several days talking about it, but they mucked us around, a significant expense both in time and money to me, my crew in Spain, and my team here in London.
I hope he blows his nose before the interview begins.
More importantly, he didn't turn up yesterday. And said wanted to do it today. So it seemed to me then it might all just be a stunt. But I went ahead and said, okay, we'll have another go today. Ye told Sneeko not to be offended if he stormed off very shortly before today's interview started. You can judge for yourself how it went and whether Ye has any respect or, frankly, any marbles. I'm not a shrink. But if you're so delusional or fragile you don't expect a journalist to ask you questions about your publicly stated love of Hitler, you should probably talk to somebody other than me. What followed, frankly, was a farce.
Oh,
I'm giving you multi-tracks right now. About to step in this interview, but I can hop back on in about whenever it's done. That nuance right there, it's idiotic. It just shows the hate that you put out for people that put love. There's so much love in the art that I put out.
What are you talking about?
I also love that Sneeko, he walks off. Yes, we all know that he walks out. But I love how Sneeko is like wearing like earpods, but has them behind his back and is like pretending that they're IEMs. Like, bro, we know that's not an in-ear monitor, man.
This is somewhat entertaining. This is going to be laughed at by many people. It's not what I expected,
what's entertaining?
That was funny.
What?
Ye West is rarely out of the headlines at the moment. It's fair to say the headlines are equally rarely positive. The rapper, producer, and fashion designer is currently working on a new album. Several new tracks were previewed on a recent live stream with his friend Sneeko, and both Sneeko and Ye join me now. Well, welcome to Uncensored. Ye, we haven't spoken for a while. How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't use the term West, the whole drop the slave name idea.
Okay, so we just call you Ye, yeah?
What? Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, look, when I last interviewed, we had a long conversation. And since then, a lot has happened in your life. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to try and talk to you about some of this.
The way they both are checking their phones so much is so distracting. I wish, like, I don't know. I wish that they just put their phones away for the interview at least.
How would you say your life is at the moment?
I mean, you see that view?
Yeah. Your life is good?
Well, judge it on the view as the answer to how my life is. Judge me by the view.
Well, the view is Mallorca. I've been there. It's a beautiful place. And for all intents and purposes, you seem very relaxed and happy. That is in direct contrast.
He doesn't look happy. He looks chill. Maybe a little relaxed. But he doesn't look happy. Bro isn't smiling. Bro's face is like this. I don't think that when you have a face that's like that, where you're not even like your little like smile lines or whatever are not even visible, I don't know if that necessarily means that he's happy.
To your public image at the moment over the last couple of years, led by your ferocious... Well, hang on, let me finish the question. Led by your ferocious use of...
No, but I already disagree. It's not in contrast. There's so many people and artists that are championing the idea of someone being able to just express who they really are and have been able to go through the war of being attacked by the banks, being attacked, by... the banks. That's the best way to put it. Being attacked by the banks and to still be here with this view is, that's the win. So I think I'm in contrast.
The amount of people who have been attacked by banks is very, very small. I want to say there was some alt-right person when the IDW was booming who got banned from Chase Bank. Was it Milo Yiannopoulos? Someone who was kind of alt-right in the IDW space got banned from Chase Bank. But I only know of one other person who's been banned from Chase Bank. So I think the banks are coming at you. Come on, fam. No, not in 2025 when we fixed a lot of racism, like systemic racism and stuff. No, it ain't like that, bro.
That's your contrast.
Okay, but the point I was going to make is that I watch what you put out on X. You've got 32 million followers, so you're one of the most followed people.
See, wait. Now look right now. You're not going to take inches off my dick, bro. How many followers do I have?
Well, how many is it?
I think you could do the study. You got a whole staff over there.
I thought it was 32 million. How many is it? You obviously know.
No, don't help them out.
I'm told it's 33 million now. So congratulations. You're slightly bigger following than I thought.
No, congratulations. Your information is correct. You're not just some, dude trying to sub. I'm a gift, bro. You know what I mean? Why do all you people in media act like you haven't played my songs at your weddings or graduations or at funerals or when your child was born?
That doesn't have anything to do with the amount of subs that he has, or followers on X or this. Things like this make me think that something is just wrong with his brain, and that makes it hard for me to take him seriously as even a Germany fanatic, let's say, because if your brain's all the way there, how closely can you even or accurately can you even genuinely adhere to some of the hateful rhetoric that you're spewing?
Take somebody that's living like a Lennon, a Michael Jackson, and you just take all this time to just that nuance right there. It's idiotic. It just shows the hate that you put out for people that put love. There's so much love in the art that I put out.
With all due respect, what are you talking about? I haven't said anything.
What are you talking about? It's dirty.
I mean, the only love that I see is for the H dude. That's the only love I see. The only love I see is for 1920s Germany and the double H. That's all I see.
Okay, now you're not taking accountability or responsibility.
Literally, you said it. You implied
I
played your music. Of course I played your music.
No, sir. This is what you get for now. We can circle back when you can count.
Okay.
Yo,
where's he gone?
This is crazy. He walked off the set because he got the number wrong of how many followers he has on X. This is not a guy to be taken seriously at all.
There you go.
It's fitting that Sneeko was sitting right next to him, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it for Ye. But it's nice to meet you, Piers.
Where's he gone?
I think he's just going back to work. There's several things he's working on. I was not aware he was going to leave like this, but it seems like he got upset about the...
So it's all just a game, is it? Is that the idea?
Followers. Well, I mean, life is a video game, is it?
No, I just wonder what the point of this exercise...
Going back to his more wholesome roots there. Yeah, that was... I miss the old Sneeko.
Was he supposed to do an interview or not?
He's supposed to do an interview, but I mean, the amount of Twitter followers, something like that, it's patronizing for no reason. You said his name incorrectly. You know his name is Ye. This is very public about that. Hopefully we could do it. I think this was good. We were prepared for a good interview. But, come on, you know what you were doing.
What do you think I'm doing?
I think you were trying to patronize very intentionally by getting those two things, under his skin. Maybe it could have been about past interviews or because of what happened yesterday. But, I mean, this information is not that difficult to get right.
But if, let's say, for example, that Ye is, like, getting an insane amount of followers, like, every single day on X and his account is growing, then it's reasonable to think that you'd be wrong. If you did your research yesterday and then he got another million in one day, that's not that big of a deal. That's not that big of a deal at all. And he actually asked in the beginning, do you prefer to be called Ye or do you prefer to be called Kanye West? And then Ye said, Ye, call me Ye. So, like, this is, and I'm pretty sure this is all just a grift to, like, Sneeko's just trying to grow as a content creator and, like, as a person. So he's just cozying up to Ye because this is the biggest that he's ever been. And he wants to keep growing. So this is all like a career move for him. And I don't know if he even holds this opinion genuinely of even how this interview went.
Yeah, we called him Ye, and we got his Twitter following count wrong by 1 million, from 32 to 33 million. Also, for the record, you guys dicked us around yesterday, and you seem to find that very entertaining and amusing in your live stream, which I'm sure you will now. You kept all my crew in Spain and here waiting, and then wasted their time. And then you got us all back now, and you've wasted our time again. And you again may find that funny and entertaining, and that's fine. I don't. I think it's a total waste of everyone's time and effort and money.
Well, it is. I was ready for the interview yesterday, too. My time is important as well, regardless if it was wasted. We have to admit this is somewhat entertaining. This is going to be laughed at by many people. It's not what I expected,
what's entertaining?
That was funny. That's undeniably walking off right into the beginning of an interview.
No, it wasn't funny. It was pathetic. It was pathetic. And if you're laughing at how pathetic it was. So don't do that. Don't do that. If you're laughing at all, you're laughing at someone's how pathetic someone is. Like, no, don't try to play that game.
It's funny.
Yeah. Out of interest, what do you do with him?
I'm working on several films right now. I am streaming out here, I'm editing, and I work on things behind the scenes, some inspiration for art. I'm just there to try to help fulfill his vision.
Well, let me ask you the questions I would have asked him. So, I mean, out of interest, what is with his obsession with Hitler? Why is he so rampantly anti-Semitic?
I'm not going to answer questions on his behalf.
Well, you're going to have to because he's not there.
Questions on his behalf.
He's not there.
What's that?
He's not there. Literally, he's dropping a track today called Heil Hitler. Why are you happy to be associated with somebody like that, out of interest?
That's a fair question.
Well, I'm not going to speak on his art and his vision while he's not here.
No, he said, okay, because he understood. You already said, I'm not going to answer for him. So then Piers Morgan kind of changed his question. It was like, okay, because of Ye's anti-Semitic behavior, why are you okay with being associated with him? Sneeko should maybe listen, make the adjustment, and then respond appropriately to the question he was asked.
I'm asking you why you're happy to be associated with somebody who most of the world believes is now a rampant anti-Semite.
Well, you're associated as well. Your show's called Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Yeah.
You tried to get him censored on X. And here you are on the days we're going to release this song doing an interview with him. So we're all involved here. It's not like I'm the only one complicit.
Yeah, no, because Piers Morgan's connection and association with Ye is opposing him and viewing him as a raging anti-Semite, as he should. Sneeko's association with Ye is thinking that he is good and actively supporting him, not just morally, not just vocally, but materially, helping him bring his art into the world. Very different types of things, very different types of connections and associations here that Sneeko's trying to pull here. These are very, very different. I don't think it was a fair comparison at all to me.
The reason I wanted to get him on was because I don't think anyone holds him to account for anything he does on X. And in fact, he deliberately breaches all of X's rules, and yet he does it with impunity and is allowed to do it, whereas millions of other accounts get suspended for far less offenses. So I was going to ask him directly, which is why I mentioned his X following. I was going to ask him about what he puts on X and why he does this, why he continually attacks Jewish people, why he continually celebrates Adolf Hitler. And then I'm curious about, given he's not there, can't answer these questions, what your association is with this guy and whether you're comfortable to be associated with somebody who most people consider to be an anti-Semite.
I think I just answered this question. And these are good questions. I think I just answered half of that.
We haven't answered the question, though, have you?
But I mean, if I did, you said, what are you doing out here? And I said, I'm doing films and I'm recording behind the scenes and I'm streaming. And
but why? Why are you associated with him is the main question.
I'm editing and helping fulfill his vision.
Have you been helping him with the track Heil Hitler?
No, I don't. I'm not a music guy. And if you wanted to get questions about his Twitter or X correct, then you should have got the number of followers correct. That was something intentional that you knew what you were doing.
So I got the size of his dick wrong. Is that what you say?
Well, if you know everything else that he's tweeting, you should have got that right as well.
Oh, don't be so pathetic, Sneeko. Honestly, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get good content which will promote you, Sneeko. And I'm just curious how you, Sneeko, deal with the fact that you are so openly associating yourself
asked that question
with somebody who seems to worship
And he hasn't answered the question. Why do you think he's asking the same question 3 times? It's because he hasn't gotten an answer yet. He said, why are you associated with him? And what's his answer? Oh, I like working on films. I like The View. Like, what?
Of Hitler and is pro the Nazis. Do you feel comfortable about that?
No, we worship God.
He worships Adolf Hitler.
I'm here promoting this. We could talk about how pathetic it is that you were essentially working for Israel up until a couple months ago and promoting
when was I working for Israel?
Like genocide and not pushing back.
When was I working for Israel?
If it's pathetic to make films behind the scenes of one of the greatest living artists, probably the greatest living artist,
well, he certainly was.
To point the finger at you.
He was a great artist. Unfortunately,
I think he's still a pretty good artist. I don't know if he's great now. I mean, the music that he makes is good to an extent. I mean, of course, you got to disregard the lyrics, but it's not pathetic to be making a movie for a renowned artist. That's not what's pathetic. What's pathetic is to do so and not push back against the anti-Semitism, right? To sort of stuff down your I guess your conscience or whatever, and just like swallow the pill and of being associated with an anti-Semite just to work on this stuff. Like if Sneeko was going up to Ye and being like, hey, I don't like what you're saying. What you're saying is wrong. And I'm going to say publicly that what you're saying is wrong and incorrect. I like making movies, so I'm going to make a movie with you. But I'm also going to publicly oppose everything that you're saying on X. That would not be pathetic. But what's pathetic is pretending that what Ye is doing is okay. And then, doing that very clearly just to further your own career. You're grifting. It's basically what you're doing.
He's become a rampant anti-Semite who adores Adolf Hitler, embraces Nazism, uses swastikas,
I'm pretty sure he says he loves
to
everyone.
sell his
I'm not
merchandise,
gonna speak
and
for
has a
him,
new
but
record out called Heil Hitler. So forgive me if I don't currently
the
see
song
him
is not. I mean,
as one of the
everything you're
world's
saying
great
in this question is
artists.
incorrect.
Yeah, but I don't see
everything
him.
you're saying in this question is incorrect.
Sorry?
The song isn't out. The song isn't out for one. And two, he says he loves everyone. He says he loves Jews. He says he loves Hitler. He says he loves...
Okay, but where's my Ye and Frank song then? Ye. Make the Ye and Frank song. Okay? Make the I Love George Washington song, okay? But you're not gonna do that because your claims to loving everyone are extremely disingenuous.
Loves everybody. But
so when he says, let me ask you, given you're the one sitting there, he said Jews were better as slaves. You have to put your Jews in their place and make them into your slaves. You then said make your Jews work for you, but watch them as close as you can, whip the Jews. You comfortable with that, Sneaker?
Is that the type of thing that would be said by someone who loves everyone? No. Not a chance. This is ridiculous.
I think I find it funny. That's not something that I would do personally. I don't whip anybody.
You think it's funny, do you? Whipping Jews?
Slavery.
Using Jews as slaves? You think that's funny?
I think the context of that is funny, yeah.
Well, I got to give him a little bit of credit for saying that he doesn't endorse what's being said there. If you read between the lines, that's what Sneako's saying. But he's excusing it as a joke, which is really bad. Like, because there's no punchline. It's maybe silly, but only in the absurdity of the opinion. It's not an actual proper joke, right? And so laughing out of absurdity and laughing out of humor are not exactly the same thing.
What's the
also
humor?
to remove any sense of humor
I'm missing
from
the
that
humor.
is
What's the
ridiculous.
humor?
I mean, do you want me to break down a joke for you?
You think it's a joke, do you, about whipping Jews?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a joke because I've been here for a couple weeks and he hasn't whipped any Jews.
Really? So because
to be fair, he probably hasn't found any Jews to whip because they're so afraid of him because of how anti-Semitic he is on X. You think he was gonna hire some Jews and whip them? Like, what is Sneako insinuating here? That doesn't make any sense.
He hasn't actually whipped any yet.
Yeah, he really has. He hasn't whipped any Jews.
Really? So because he hasn't actually whipped any yet, that's a joke.
He really has.
Yeah.
Really has. But Piers, before I leave, I don't want to speak on his behalf. If you're agreeing
what
that
choice
he's
do we
the
have?
greatest
You set
living
this
artist
thing.
right now.
You set this farce up. He's dicked us around. You're the one left, so you're going to have to be accountable for him. Unless you want to walk away too.
Accountable? What do you want to hold me accountable?
If you don't want to answer questions either, you are free to stand up and walk away like a little sniveling
Well, you can ask questions.
Too.
If you have questions for me, then I'll feel free to answer those.
Question for you. Why is your mate Ye?
Is this whole thing going to be interrupting, or is this whole thing just going to be interrupting? Or do you want me to speak at all?
You're sounding like Andrew Tate Light, like his annoying little younger brother we never knew about. Okay, doesn't work with me. Okay,
let's go.
You set this thing up. It's obviously some kind of elaborate prank.
Okay, your team asked me to do this. If you want to be Netanyahu light on TV,
given you want to
be Dave Portnoy with the suit,
that's fine.
Then sure. If you want to do ad hominem attacks, then why invite someone on your show? I set this up because your team asked me to do it. I did everything that I could. If I knew that this would, I'm not here wasting your time. You're angry at me for setting up an interview that you wanted. If you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer those.
Here's
if you
my
want
question.
to keep doing insults, there's no point in me being here.
Why did Ye stand up like a sniveling little coward and walk away before I could ask him difficult questions?
I would have just asked him the question of why are you, what is it about Kanye West that makes you so excited to be associated with him, or why are you associated with him and are you okay with being considered anti-Semitic considering things that Ye has done? I think it's fair for Sneako to be like, well, I'm not Ye, so I'm not going to answer for him. I think that's a fair response. And I do think that Piers Morgan should have respected that sentiment and being like, okay, I'm going to ask questions about you. And Sneako's been around for a while. There are a lot of things you could ask Sneako about if you did show prep about Sneako. You knew that Sneako was going to be part of the interview because you mic'd him up and you gave him an earpiece. So I do think that he should have had some show prep ready for Sneako with questions to ask Sneako as well. Could have been an interview with both folks. And then if Ye walks out, you can ask questions of Sneako. And if Sneako walks out, you can ask questions of Ye.
The third time, Piers, I don't know if you have a hearing problem, but I'm not going to answer questions on another man's behalf. But
really?
Thank you for
Even
having
though
me.
you set up the interview with him
another time, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, tell him from me he's a sniveling little coward. And he's an anti-Semite and a Hitler worshipper. That's what I would have asked him if he'd had the balls to sit there and take the questions. And there you are, proudly associating yourself with him. Good luck to you, Sneeko.
Crazy.
Everyone can see you for what you are.
Wow.
Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent.
That was awful. That was awful. Once the guy proceeds to beg for an interview. Well, it's different because if you're given a platform to say whatever you want, that's entirely different than being in an interview where you're being challenged. I think it's a completely different arena. Very, very different things. All right, real quick. I did want to cover this as well because this is big news and it's going to be obsolete before by the time next week rolls around. So I want to make sure that I get a chance to talk about this on stream before the weekend hits so I can release this on Friday. But this is very, very huge for the landscape of television. So, and this is from Awful Announcing. It's called ESPN to announce flagship name and price next week. ESPN will totally unveil their DTC service next week as the company experiences a mixed bag in earnings for Q1. Flagship, we hardly knew ye. Flagship is the handle ESPN has used for about a year now to refer to its developing and highly anticipated direct-to-consumer app, which will, for the first time, make all of ESPN's channels available for standalone sale. This is exciting. All of ESPN's channels. Now, I think that what this is going to mean is it's going to include ACC Network. It's going to include SEC Network. I think the Big 12 Network is owned by ESPN as well, which to me, as a college sports fan, is huge because between ESPN and Fox, who also is making their own DCC package in the fall/winterish of this year, this is going to encompass the vast majority of college sports, other than broadcast television, of course. ESPN Plus, combined with ESPN3, covers a lot of ABC programming, and I don't know if the Fox DTC offering is going to include sports that air on Fox, but generally speaking, between Fox's DTC solution and ESPN's DTC solution, you'll get like 80% of college sports, which is very, very exciting. If you are a subscriber of linear ESPN, you will automatically get what I know we've been referring to as ESPN flagship. Disney CEO Bob Iger said on an earnings call this morning. By the way, it will not be called that in next week. Jimmy Pitaro, ESPN president, plans to reveal not only the name, but he'll also talk about our pricing strategy. But the plan would be to basically be somewhat agnostic from a subscriber perspective so that we can still do our best to preserve the multi-channel ecosystem. Disney's upfront is scheduled for May 13, so it is likely that is likely the platform for the announcement. So I'm guessing this will be like on Monday or Tuesday. Generally is when they like to do announcements like these, yeah. The soon not to be named flagship app is expected to cost between $25 and $30 a month and is touted as boasting features like betting and fantasy integration not available on the linear consumer. I don't really care about those things. A lot of the fantasy stuff I do on Yahoo, which is not even that much. It's literally just March Madness every year. That price would be the place. No, sorry. That price would place the new ESPN app in the higher range of sports app prices, though definitely not exorbitant. Iger did not mention a launch date, though it is widely expected sometime before the start of college football and NFL regular seasons. Yeah, it's not exorbitant at all. I think ESPN. I think Sling TV, their streaming service, costs about like $60 or so a month, and if you exclude that, then all the other streaming services cost about $80 or $90 a month. So $25 to $30 a month, if all you care about is ESPN to have on in the background, especially, is really good. It says here, I did not mention the launch date, though it is widely expected to be sometime before the start of the college football and NFL regular seasons. For years, ESPN has resisted the DTC offering for fear it would cannibalize the linear channels, and ESPN is seen as critical to holding the fraying cable bundle together. This is actually not the big reason why they haven't done this. The big reason is why they haven't done this is because of cable agreements. They have cable agreements in place that say you cannot make a streaming version of this. You can only give this to like us cable providers, essentially. And so I think over the past few years, because every several years, you know, cable and agreements behind the scenes, they expire and have to be rewritten and things. And no one ever talks about, ESPN signed a new deal with Cox to stay there for 5 more years. But I think over the past several years, ESPN has been working behind the scenes to put in things into the agreements so that now they can just do a streaming option online. I think actually like Newsmax came into issues with this because they have an agreement with like DirecTV or something saying put DirecTV on, put Newsmax TV on DirecTV, but they didn't know that agreement, which is a standard agreement, says you cannot have your own streaming version of Newsmax TV, I think, to some extent. So for years, Newsmax TV had been free on YouTube. They had to take that down and make YouTube, they had to make Newsmax 2 as a free option to replace Newsmax TV because it would breach the agreement. So a typical agreement would say you can't make a streaming version of that, but I think this is sort of breaking down those barriers, which is huge for the future of watching cable channels on streaming. Says here, and ESPN is seen as critical to holding the fraying cable bundle together. If consumers who just get cable for ESPN drop it now in favor of the app, that could be a death blow to linear. I think the problem is that I think if you have cable, you probably want more than ESPN. Now, Fox's solution is going to be a little bit more holistic, and I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive with cable, specifically because it's going to appeal to more people. Because inside of Fox's DTC solution, it's not just going to have the ESPN channels. It's going to have Fox News. I think it's going to have Fox Business and other Fox channels. It might even have FX for all I know. So that solution is going to target more people. Because if you want cable, you want sports and news and probably some entertainment as well, though now most people just stream their shows. So by just offering sports, I don't think that's enough. But I think what might happen is, if Disney has some sort of issue with with a cable provider, oops, I guess ESPN isn't on the cable service anymore, and now you're going to have people either paying for both cable and ESPN or picking between one or the other. And it could be a situation where eventually cable is just a place for all the channels that don't have a la carte apps yet. That literally might be the case. Says here, last year when Disney worked with Fox and Warner Brothers Discovery to get their sports streaming app off the ground, they all said that the app would not cannibalize pay TV, but internal research that emerged during litigation suggested a much stronger bleed for customers from pay TV to the app. The three partners dropped plans for the app in the face of litigation brought by Fubo TV. And the funny thing is, all the content that was going to be on there, they just ended up, all the content that was going to be made on, like, what was it called, Venue Sports, it's all ending up being in their own apps. I think Max already has all the stuff that was going to be on Venue Sports in from Warner Discovery now. Fox is making their own DTC solution, and Disney, of course, is releasing the new ESPN thing. What's it going to be? ESPN Squared? It's not ESPN Plus. It says here, the three partners drop plans for the app. Oh yeah, I already read that. Therefore, one of the most highly watched developments of the next year to 18 months in media is if the ESPN launch accelerates the decline of the cable bundle. ESPN's existing streaming option, ESPN Plus, which shows live sports not available on ESPN's linear channels, saw an 800,000 subscriber loss from 24.1 million in the quarter ended March 29, 2025. ESPN revenue for the quarter rose 8% from 4.5 billion according to Disney, but operating income fell 16% to $669 million. The decrease in domestic ESPN operating results in the current quarter compared to the prior year quarter reflected higher programming and production costs, primarily attributed to airing 3 additional college football playoff games, makes sense, as well as 1 additional NFL game due to timing. The company wrote in its quarterly report. Disney shares were up 10% in early morning trading as the company also reported an unexpected rise in Disney Plus subscribers. Disney reported a 1.4 million increase to 126 million for Disney Plus, the inverse of Wall Street's expected decline in subs. Disney expects to announce pricing for its highly anticipated direct-to-consumer ESPN app, which the company is expected to launch before the start of the college football and NFL regular seasons. He repeated himself there. So an interesting article. I'm really fascinated to see how the flagship thing works. I think that's going to be great for ESPN and great for Disney. I think especially if there are folks who like sports but don't care about all the sports all the time, but want to be able to watch some sports all the time, they're going to maybe have ESPN flagship as a backstop So let's say they need to get rid of cable for a little bit. At least they'll always have ESPN to have on in the background. That's going to be very cool. I will say that there are free options for people who just like having sports on in the background. ESPN 3 does have some sports on in the background, although their content has been diminishing over time. It's been moving over to ESPN Plus. But also there's CBS Sports HQ, which I really like because it's basically like, remember like what SportsCenter used to be? It's literally that, but just 24/7. All these highlights, all the score updates for all the games, all the time on a 24/7 linear solution. Really cool. I like throwing it up on my TV and having it on mute in the background. So, but still not a lot of people are thinking about that. They're looking at the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. So I'm really interested to see not just what happens with ESPN, because if ESPN's by themselves, okay, fine. But we've got ESPN, Warner Brothers Discovery, and now we have Fox all going to direct to consumer in a single year, which is going to cover the vast majority, especially college sports, which is what I care about. I'm really excited to see how this shakes up the streaming and television world and normalizes making content available to stream online without being bundled in unassociated things. Like, bro, I don't care about the Lifetime channel. Don't give me the Lifetime channel if all I want is sports and news, okay? That's all I ask. And it looks like I'm getting what I'm asking for. Alrighty, I think that is going to wrap it up here. I'm glad I was able to get to all the things that I was able to get to. I wasn't able to get to all the things I wanted to get to, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm keeping my show prep up in case I've got time to stream tomorrow, and I might pick up on some of the topics that I missed and did not have a chance to cover. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the stream. I appreciate each and every one of you who tuned into the stream. Also to the folks who have comments in the chat. David Studio Animations, nice to see you in the chat as always. I don't always see you there, so I'm really glad that you popped in. By the way, don't forget to join the Discord server. You'll be able to influence the things that I talk about, the things I cover on stream. Talk to me, ask me questions, ask other people questions. I have channels about all types of subjects, news, sports, not the weather, but everything else pretty much. I do have a random channel, you can ask about the weather there. But that's all I got for you guys. If you guys enjoyed the stream, I will see you guys in another stream. Peace out, y'all.